A collection of junk has frustrated neighbors for months. It's in the Ponca Hills area just north of the metro. It's not just the bad look here, but the potential danger that worries them. The neighbors contacted our Mike McKnight for tonight's First Alert investigation.
A barbed wire fence isn't blocking the view that two neighbors have of an eyesore.
It's a dump. We didn't pay to live next to a dump.
Terry Baldwin's acreage is right next door, and Jody Hayes lives across the road.
It's 100% not neighborly.
The property is surrounded by full trees that camouflage the mess.
It may be covered by leaves right now, but the danger still exists there. Just because you can't see it doesn't mean it's not dangerous. And it's not an eyesore.
A drone shot shows neighbors' concerns not just about various kinds of junk, but several grill-sized propane containers and a large diesel fuel tank marked danger. Even though the grass and brush is green, neighbors are concerned because if there's any kind of a fire over there, this fence isn't going to stop it, and it's going to spread across their property to their homes. Neighbors can only wonder if the tanks are full or empty, but either way, they're worried.
It's a huge safety issue. The ability to have the stored oil or the propane tanks or something that looks like diesel gasoline explode may not only just ruin property, but it can hurt people.
After First Alert alerted the sheriff to neighbor concerns, an Omaha code inspector and deputies showed up.
Issued citations, criminal citations, to the gentleman who's responsible. And hopefully, within a few weeks, a judge will order him to remove all of this refuse.
Joseph McFarland has been cited for code violations related to outdoor storage and property maintenance. Though neighbors have ring video of a tow truck coming and going, McFarland's attorney claims there's not a business being run on the property that breaks any zoning law. He calls the citations selective enforcement, since others in the area keep stuff on their land.
But those propane tanks and that diesel tank, if that blew up, that could be fatal.
The sheriff says he's not received complaints elsewhere, like the hazardous mess he sees here.
Not only does it not belong here, it doesn't fit with the neighborhood. Ponca Hills is beautiful.
From her hilltop acreage, Terry Baldwin has quite a view to the south, and she hopes the sheriff's action will force a better look in the other direction.
This is the first response we've had. We've complained for years. And at least since Sheriff Hansen's been in charge, we have gotten somewhere.
In Ponca Hills, Mike McKnight, First Alert 6.
Neighbors say they've not seen a tow truck enter the property since the sheriff issued citations 2 weeks ago. The landowner's attorney calls the issue a squabble between neighbors, but his client is working to satisfy authorities. A court date on the misdemeanor citations is set for early June.